Live. What's up, fellas? What's up, Mr. Justin J. Smooth? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing well, Mike. It's always a pleasure to be on Market Movers, to be here for another day. We're going to be reviving it for the rest of at least the college basketball season. Hopefully we get baseball, man. That's a whole nother story. But of course, glad to be here. Excited to break down today's slate. It's not a bad one. We're into conference play. It's kind of a
Finally.
fun time. Yeah, it's really like, time to cut your teeth a little bit here. There's a lot of action. You start to really understand these matchups because everybody plays the same teams. So you start to actually get a good picture of what's going on. Very excited to talk about these games. So, any games you're really looking forward to today at all? Or
Yeah, I mean, one of them that I'm really looking forward to is that North Carolina game, mostly just because when I run the simulations, it comes out as a dead tie between the two teams. Like they could not be more evenly matched in this situation tonight. So that one is going to be fascinating to see. There's a couple others I like, the couple dogs, but mostly just interested to see how some of these big favorites perform as well. Mostly Houston, I believe, big favorite today. I've seen a wide range of outcomes in terms of the number at simulations across different models, and then Tennessee, Ole Miss. Tennessee laying 17 against Ole Miss, conference game there. Those are some pretty big numbers today.
It's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, there's some interesting spreads. If you watched the early edge this morning, you guys already know I am on Houston. So I actually haven't had time to review Mike's numbers today, and I'm very excited to see that he does agree. But we're gonna get into all of that today. There's a lot to talk about. So let's not waste too much time. Let's jump in. We do have a game tipping in about 55 minutes. So I'm sure people are interested in that because that's probably what everyone's going to go put on when we're done. So I'm going to go put on when we're done. But Bethune-Cookman is going to FIU, and they're getting this line is growing. It was 13 last night. It was 15 and a half 30 minutes ago. It's now 16. I don't know, Mike. What do you make of these awful teams? We love awful teams in the morning.
Yeah, so this is one where the model, what it says is absolutely disgusting.
Right.
It wants me to play Bethune-Cookman. I have them as only 9-point dogs in the simulations. Definitely do not love what I've seen in the market in terms of the movement there. So with some of these teams, I don't pay a ton of attention to that too much. I'm drastically off the market in both cases here, which isn't uncommon in college basketball with some of these smaller schools. It's pretty uncommon with the major schools, which get a little bit more attention. But right here, it's telling me a very interesting combo, and that is typically when you're looking at the underdog, you're typically looking at the underdog and the under in the game.
Right.
This time, it's telling me that I need to be on the underdog and the over in the game. So I will be very transparent with you. I don't know how much I trust the simulation on these two teams. These two teams, I don't pay a lot of attention to. I don't make any manual adjustments for these two teams. So it's truly what the computer is spitting out. The market very much disagrees.
Yes.
In terms of where the game is moved. Like I said, FIU is all the way up to minus 15 and a half. If you want to trust the model and think that I'm good at what I do, I usually am, but I'm not going to. I don't have a full play on it. I know there were a couple games yesterday. I got a lot of DMs actually about. Let me see what game it was. Actually, it was a really fun DM. I didn't even respond to it because it was sent to me right during like DFS NBA lock. It says CBB Sims got A&M favored by 1 and actually 6-point favorites. Was there an injury or opt-out before those were ran? Public all over A&M too, but Georgia can't cover any number. I didn't respond. Responded back later. Says A&M by 2, and the sim had it at 1.9 to be exact. Was celebrating where the computer was. So we were correct on that one. If you want to try and run that one with Bethune-Cookman, go for it, but not a team that I'm overly excited about backing today.
Yeah. I backed Bethune-Cookman in their last game when they won, right? And that was a 7-point win. They were +2, but that was with some SWAC play. I believe this is actually non-conference, which is weird. Because yeah, FIU is Conference USA. They're playing okay, but Bethune actually has like a really strong like schedule strength factor, which is really weird. Like I think they've seen some good teams. I'm on FIU personally in terms of like where I lean. I do have a small bet on it. I think Bethune, after getting that win at home, going on the road is going to be a little tough. FIU can hit their shots. They are a better school. Bethune is like looked at as one of the worst 10 to 20 teams in all of D1. So I'm not really expecting them to have 2 winning performances. They're just not the most consistent. I mean, neither is FIU, but again, if you look at how it's going, I feel like there's very little chance to see Bethune-Cookman cover back-to-back games, especially here on the road. But yeah. All right, we have then we jump to like 6 or 7 p.m. I mean, not exactly fun to wait all day to get some more games going. But we do have, I don't know, Ed, do you want to talk about DePaul St. John's? It looks pretty interesting. This one's been sitting there at 4.5, 5 all day. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I look to be pretty much dead on market on this one. St. John's up to -5 at -105 on Kings currently. I think at that point you can start to look at DePaul as an underdog if you're getting 5.5. I don't have a ton of thoughts on it other than my simulation number here. Let's see where
I'm 4.5.
Yeah,
you have 4.5. I just pulled it up 2 seconds ago. But yeah, so I think it's probably good. Good line. I do lean St. John's. I personally, I do lean St. John's. This is a non-model pick, which again, when I put these picks up, what it really means, right, is that this is just how I feel it's going to go. But yeah, I took St. John's -5. I think they're the better team here. DePaul has been struggling a little bit. They're still getting a lot of respect for some of those big wins, but St. John's, this is, and let me tell you the real reason why I like this game, Mike. And you can tell me if you sort of align yourself with this type of stuff in college basketball, but they need to win this game in the conference. They haven't won a game in the Big East yet. This is at home. They need to win this game. They can't continue to lose in the conference. They're looking at this. I think they're 0-2, maybe 0-3. Honestly, I should look it up, but they haven't won a Big East game yet. Do you think that that's a big deal for teams? Like they're going to come out here and play harder because they need to get this win to stay relevant?
I mean, yeah, look, they're definitely going to put the effort out. I just have some concerns about the games that they haven't been able to cover.
Me too.
I mean, Monmouth, they weren't able to cover that game. They lost outright to Pitt as 13.5-point favorites in the last game.
Yeah.
Some shaky results. And then on the other side, DePaul, beating Louisville. I don't know. I don't feel great about it. I get why you want to lean that way. Based on where my number is at 4.5, I can't recommend that, obviously.
Of course. My model is the same. Yeah, it's not a model play for me. And I usually bet these around 0.2 when I say that they're non-model plays, so I keep it pretty conservative. I think like it's just they're sort of like how I would bet if I was just having fun with it, and I'd like to also have fun with betting. And I've also been stuck inside quarantine for the last 10 days, so just trying to enjoy myself here a little bit. But yeah, DePaul though hasn't covered any of their last 3 games. I mean, the St. John's didn't play that Seton Hall game. Pittsburgh did cover against them, but Pittsburgh has been playing pretty well. They did cover against Colgate. Yeah, the Monmouth, failed to cover. It wasn't great, but I don't know. I think this is just one of those games at home in the Big East. It's gonna be a game where they're gonna try to really win this one. So we'll see. I mean, the Big East is wide open. Creighton's 2-0, Providence 3-1, Nova 2-1. Everyone else is 1-1 or worse. So there's only 3 teams with winning records in the Big East right now as we get started. So I think they're going to be hungry. But yeah, that's just my take. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. And what's the next game on the docket? Anything you want to talk about at that 7? It's a busy 7 o'clock hour, actually.
huge 7 o'clock hour. So I
Yeah.
mean, we could talk about VMI and some of the others if you really want to. I'm not going to
Let
have
me
massive thoughts on them. I'm pretty much
Here, let
on
me tell you the
the.
games that I like, and we can talk about, because I have a bunch of picks that aren't from my model. Again, we can talk. I definitely want to talk to you about Houston when that
Yeah,
comes up. But how do you feel? This is a big game. Bama, Florida.
Bama,
That's a
Florida
good one.
is a huge, huge game.
That's a good one. So let's pull up the Sims. Let's find this in the Sims here. It's probably at the top, right? Yeah.
It's near the top.
Usually big
Second
games
game.
at the top. So
Yeah,
you
it's an
actually
important
have
one.
Alabama winning.
I do. So
You agree with me?
look, Bama is this team is interesting, right? We thought they were really, really, really good at one point. We really expected them to beat Tennessee. Tennessee was dealing with a little bit of COVID issues. They lost to Davidson. They haven't covered in what? I mean, they lost a game to Memphis as well. They haven't covered in 5 straight games. And that's basically why you see the line where it is. They're 1.5-point underdogs. If you look at like where we had these two teams preseason, they probably literally would have been favored by 4 points in this game, in this spot. So I think it's a little bit of an overreaction at this point. So, we're going to look at Florida's wins, and other than like beating Ohio State, like how impressive have their wins been? They beat Stony Brook. They didn't cover against South Florida. They didn't cover against Maryland. They won by 2. They beat North Florida. No one really cares there. Texas Southern didn't cover. Lost outright to Oklahoma. So I'm not giving them a ton of credit. I'm giving Bama a lot more credit based on the teams that they have played so far. You look at their schedule. I mean, they played Drake, Miami, Gonzaga, Houston, Memphis, Davidson, Tennessee already. I think it's just a pretty clear overreaction in the market. So I'm rolling with the simulation number on this one. I like Bama to win this one, and my simulations do as well. I was kind of happy to see that come out that way. But minus 1.9, so basically -2 is my simulation number.
That would be how, if when I first started getting into researching your model and understanding the way it works, like I usually set my model works in a sort of a similar way, right, in terms of the way that I run like a secondary analysis on established models and everything. But what I usually look for is about that 2.5, 3.5 range to start to take a bet. So I mean, if you're betting purely on how Mike's model works, like this is a play. Like just period, right? Because you're getting 4 points edge. It's a good amount. Mike's model would definitely play this if it had a choice in how we do things. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you here. I'm on Bama. It's one of my non-model picks. I think they're just the better squad. I think they should probably win this game. They've been really good. This is just a better team. Florida might be a bigger basketball school. Historically have a better basketball program, but I just think this year, this Alabama team is a little too good. You look at like the head-to-head ratings, Alabama beat them last year too. And that was at Florida as well. And they won by 15 points, and it was Bama -2. So again, I don't know how many seniors they graduated off the top of my head from last year, but they had a good team last year. They have a good team this year. I do think they're ranked 15 and they're underdogs. So I don't know. I think there's a good chance they get this done. I like +2 a lot. I think it's the right play. I definitely wouldn't be taking Florida. Either pass or take Alabama. But all right. The next game I have at the 7 o'clock hour on my non-model picks. Again, my model only really liked one play today. Indiana State -6. I really think, they're playing Evansville. They just dominate Evans. I don't think there's no way they lose this game. They've beaten Evansville like every one of their matches. Yeah. But come on, it makes for good content, right? People can yell at me on Twitter saying I stink. Jump in the Discords and have arguments with me about copying people's picks, which is a hilarious comment. Got that one today. But
Indiana State, I make them -10.8 in my sims. So
okay.
I would support where you're at there. Just generally, I have a little less confidence in some of those smaller schools just because I do not manually review every single thing on some of those smaller games. But some number down there for me is -10.8, basically near the bottom, as you can see how important I value some of those games down there. If you're wondering about the order, some of them are competitive games, mostly sorted by spread, but some of them are also games
Right.
that I have interest in picking up at the
Yeah,
top.
you can see at the top here, these games that you probably have interest in looking at are sort of separated and aren't really sorted anymore. Those are sort of like a ranking, a kind of a fun ranking. And then we get into here, which is just sort of organized by spread. So if you're looking for the big spreads, well, St. Bonaventure is going to crush Fordham. That's Mike's biggest prediction of the day. I don't know about that's not edge though, right? So this is just what the predictions are. But
Yeah,
love
it's
this.
just the straight simulation number. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, these again, the big thing right now, which we probably deserves to get talked about, is just that you want to wait and make sure you're paying attention to the news breaking about COVID, about players starting. Like it's a little difficult right now. Definitely don't go out there thinking that everything's concrete. There's still players getting ruled out 15 minutes before tip. And it's very frustrating and it's very difficult. And I've scaled back my bet size personally. I mean, Mike wasn't even running Sims for the last 2 weeks. So,
right. Yeah, no, it's just once we get into the conference play, I'm more interested in running Sims again. But
yeah,
around the holiday break with all of the COVID, home court advantages are not as prevalent when there's no students in session, things like that. And just the massive unknown with COVID. So I did stop simulating for a while there, but we're back now that we've got some more conference games. Class will return soon, and everything should be trending in the right direction as far as COVID goes. So what's the next game you want to hit?
How do you feel about Tulane ECU? Interested in your take here. Well, we can look at
this. Is always a fun game because I don't look at the market at all. I just go run the data and then see where it's at. I haven't seen where my number is here yet. I have to.
I can't even find on the list personally.
I may not
here it is. East Carolina in the middle.
Gotcha.
It's right smack in the middle. You make it minus 2.6 for East Carolina, and I kind of lean Tulane. I'll tell you. I mean,
Tulane plus
I don't know.
1 in the market. Okay, 39.
Yeah.
That's the next thing. If you guys are looking at my simulations, if you're on the Discord server, when you see things like that, immediately go look at the total too, and just see how market my data is. You'll find games that'll be very, very tight right on market. You'll find ones like that first game of the day where we're off by 8 points, which is you got to start to wonder what the heck's going on at that point. My models are great and everything's fine, but it should not be 8 points off at this point in the day. It just shouldn't. The market should have corrected it for the most part. So whenever you see things like that you're maybe not expecting, go look at the total and see how close it is to market, because if it's correct, things should be relatively.
Right. It's another way to sort of see if your models projections are lining up with where the book and other models are thinking it's going to go. Like you can use it to say all right, well, how close in general, like the whole game, right? Not just the spread, but the pace, the number of baskets scored. How does Mike's model sort of project it's going to happen compared to where you're getting? And again, we're getting about this total's at 144.5 in your model, and it's 139.5. So you would obviously say it may be an overplay here as a lean.
Yep, we would lean to the over on this one. Slight lean on Carolina. You like Tulane. That makes me feel slightly better about the over if we're expecting competitive.
Yeah,
tight
I thought you were going to say slightly better about East Carolina. I wasn't going to lie.
I'm not
but East Carolina's didn't only beat USM by 1 point in its last game, and that has me very concerned because USM, I mean, yes, they're playing probably better than they would be expected to this season, but they're not good. And Tulane is just beat Cincinnati and just beat Memphis and clearly trending in the right direction. Yeah, I know it's on the road, but you know what? This is exactly the type of trap game for ECU that I think they probably could lose this one outright. So, I'm just trusting the momentum here on Tulane because those are big wins, man. It's plus 9.5, plus 6.5, and they won both against good schools. So I think they might be kind of legit. So I'm gonna take a gamble on it. Again, if you're just tuning in, most of my plays are usually like 0.2 units compared to like my model where I bet a full. So this is a 0.2 unit play for me today.
Beautiful. What's next? What game we want to next?
All right. I know that this one probably actually just made the cut on Twitter this morning for the underdog of the day, Pitt Louisville. So your model, I believe, is going to like Pittsburgh, right?
Yes, model likes Pittsburgh quite a bit. We're starting, maybe it's holding there plus 12 and a half in the market. Yeah, I think this is an interesting spot for Pitt. I think they're obviously getting some credit for that last win, but at 10.2. So basically, what I expect in these games is I expect things to tighten up. You get into conference play, things tend to tighten up just a little bit. You look at certain metrics depending on who they're playing, mostly like pace of play. Some of those things are really influenced by the competition that you play early in the season, especially when you're playing
Yep.
8 to 10 non-conference games that are totally different in style. It can really, really, really impact that. So I'll go ahead and read some of the analysis basically for that. But one thing that Pittsburgh does well is they get to the free throw line. And the
Mm-hmm.
easiest way to stay in a game that you are undermatched in is to get to the free throw line. You score points without the clock moving. You potentially get players in foul trouble. That's one thing Pitt has done really well. Another thing that they do well is they play with a really slow tempo, which is what happens typically when you get to conference play anyway. Games tighten up. You value possessions a lot more. So I like that for them here. I think that the combination of them getting to the free throw line and then also just playing with a slower pace of play, which tends to happen anyway in conference play. I like them to keep it
Yep.
competitive enough to be within the 12 and a half. Like I'm fully expecting Louisville to be up by 7 to 15 points really in the final 4 minutes of this game. And
Yep.
when you have a lead that's that big, that's not the 4 to 5 point lead, but when you have the full 2 to 3 possession lead, object number one is kill clock. A lot of college basketball teams do this and understand it, and they value possessions, get a good quality shot. But I do expect a slower tempo here in the final few minutes of the game. Ultimately, I think it keeps them within the 12 and a half. So yeah, give me Pitt plus
Pittsburgh.
12
Yeah.
and a half. That was the underdog play of the day on Sportsline.
And when Mike sent that in the Sportsline chat this morning, I literally said, "I love Pitt. I love it. I'm with it too." They've, in terms of what I'm seeing with them is that they've kept games close. They just have. They've been good at covering. They're a competitive team. They're going to play up to the level of their competition. They're going to make it tight. Like Mike said, they excel at getting to the line, at getting those free baskets. They shoot decently from the line too, which is very important. Obviously, with any college basketball game, if a team just comes out and can't put it in the basket for some reason, sometimes teams are cold. There's going to be games you just lose sometimes in college basketball for like, it feels like no reason, but there's also going to be games where the other team just loses like that too. And you take a win home that probably could have been competitive. But again, what we sort of analyze for is that other possibility where both teams come with what they have to show and they can both hit shots at a good rate. And I just think if that happens today, Pittsburgh can definitely keep this around that 8-9 area. I definitely think they lose, but this is a big game. This isn't. I mean, Pittsburgh isn't really going to be a tournament team this year, but they value their ACC games. They're going to want to try to stick it to Louisville. This is not like just some small game for them. So yeah, I like 12 and a half as well.
Cool.
But all right, cool. Underdog of the day. Let's go. It's been pretty good. I did post mine on Sportsline. We didn't get the tweet out on Monday, but those both hit too. So pressure's
Nice.
on today, Mike.
But
all right.
what game's next?
Let's see what I got here. I think I have like 11 games that I like today or so, which should be a good amount. I'm gonna look at final 7 o'clock game for me today. Youngstown State versus Robert Morris.
You can't
I
quit Youngstown
personally,
State. I think you might
I
have an
love
honorary degree from them based on the number of times you've bet them. But let's hear it. Let's talk about it.
I'm a big fan. I mean, look, your model's right with me today, Mike. Your model is 4 points of edge. I just saw it and I
I
lost
don't know
it.
about that. I think two, but yeah,
Oh, what's the line now?
minus
3.5.
four.
-4. Okay, I picked this
It's
up at
from four
minus
on
2 last
DraftKings right
night.
now.
Yeah,
Okay,
I picked this
well,
up
that
at
makes sense.
minus
This
2 last night. Right.
really good
Um,
confirmation then.
yeah, no, definitely for me. I'm loving it. I posted this this morning. Let me look at the line movement. Let me look at the market movement. We're here on Market Movers. We should be aware of it. It has jumped. The sharp side definitely looks to be Youngstown. I'm definitely seeing a lot of money on it. That kind of worries me. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
Yeah,
It worries me.
yeah. I mean, I'm not worried about it at all. The game opened at 2. My simulation number is 6. It's currently sitting
Mhm.
at 4. It's all trending in the right direction.
Yeah,
Not
it was 2. It was 2 at like 7 a.m. still, but it jumped all. It's taken a move all morning, which is good.
yeah.
I'm not mad.
All right.
But all right,
What's
I'm
next?
with it. I'm glad you're with it. I'm checking on
Got to hit
everything
Villanova
else
Creighton
here.
at some point
Oh
too.
yeah. We'll definitely talk about that game. We'll talk about the big ones. We'll talk about the ones at the top. But we can. Do you want to do that now, or let's see if we get? I'm not. I have only a
Yeah, we got some
couple more.
more we got 8 o'clock games. We got Syracuse,
Yeah,
Miami.
that's what I was going to talk about next. So let's
Okay.
actually jump right in. When do I sleep? Um, yeah, I mean, have you looked at my eyes? I really don't. I don't. I literally sleep like 5-6 hours a night, but it's a lot of fun, and I take a lot of naps. So,
There you go.
we're out here. It's a blessing. I'm not mad about it, but I'm always tired. But all right, let's do it. Miami. I really like Miami here. I don't think Syracuse on the road is the same beast.
Yep.
I know it's up here for you. You kind of agree here. Not a huge edge for you.
Yep.
But what any thoughts on as just like a college basketball watcher?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you there. When am I dropping the M squared coin? Not yet, but there
Oh
might be
God,
something similar at some
I
point.
haven't even figured out smooth coins, so I
All
can't
right.
seem to get
So
Polygon to work.
this game, though, I do agree that Syracuse is certainly not the same team away from home. Um,
Mhm.
Miami, man, I don't love either of these teams, to be honest with you. I bet against both of these teams at times this year. I'm expecting a competitive game. I like Miami at -2. The simulation has it, I believe, -3.4. Um, yeah, I think that they maybe are getting healthy with COVID. I know they've had some
Yeah,
issues. I believe their big center is back. Yeah, I mean, I lean there, but it's certainly not a play. Model likes it.
your model likes the over
Yeah,
by like 9 points. So that's something to pay attention to. Is that maybe the Syracuse defense doesn't do what it is expected to, and this is just like a back and forth, high scoring, beat each other up type of game. Down low possessions in inside quick pick and rolls, ACC action. Wouldn't be surprised to see that game get to about 160, and you can get 152 and a half. So this is probably one where we're going to say, "Oh man, we said it on the show and we didn't bet it." Probably a
yeah,
good look. This one probably gets sped up. So yeah, we'll watch for that. We'll watch for that when we get back here Friday. We can laugh about it, I'm sure.
for
But
sure.
all
Yeah,
right,
I do. I lean over there. I mean, I see why the model likes it. Look at the scoring in the last few games here. Even
Mhm.
Miami, 92 points against Wake Forest, 91 against NC State. Syracuse has had a number of 90-point games, a 100-point game against Indiana. I believe that was a double or triple overtime game. But
Now it's going to go
Arizona
way under,
State, they
right?
put up 92. Like they're massive, massive scoring games.
And now it'll
Uh,
come in at like 55, 60. So,
yeah,
but all right, let's get into some of these 8 p.m. games. I don't have any big marquee matchups at the 8 p.m. hour. We should definitely talk about some of the big ones, though. My games, the games I like are like kind of like low in terms of the rankings. But all right, anything that you have your eye on at 8 that kind of looks good. I'm sort of scrolling through them right now. I kind of like Milwaukee over Green Bay. Again, that's a trash game, but
yeah,
I do think Milwaukee's the better team there. I'm not touching Alabama State, Pine Bluff. I'm just like, you can't pay me enough. You couldn't pay
yeah.
me to tell you how that game's going to go. But yeah, Alcorn's been interesting, but I feel like they haven't played in a minute. Yeah, they haven't played since the 22nd, and JSU hasn't played since the 16th. So probably stay the heck away from that one. But all right,
Mhm.
8:30, Creighton Villanova, Big East play. I mean, this is a game that you're going to watch whether or not you bet on it if you like college basketball. So what's your thought here today, Mike?
Yeah, this one's interesting. This Villanova team has been pretty frustrating. If you've wanted to back them this season, I've won a couple games with them. I lost a game or two
Yeah.
with them. I mean, I think the market is now efficient on the game, if I'm being honest with you. I
Mm-hmm.
think it should be right there in that 10, 11-point range. Like if you could get Creighton at 11 or greater again, I think that that's probably fine. But I expect it to be competitive. Villanova is the better team. They get to play at home. I'm very confident that Villanova is the better team, despite
Yeah.
having lost to Creighton, pretty bad in the first meeting. There's a 20-point loss against Creighton. I think
Yep.
that's why you see a lot of. I want to check some of the market splits on it, but I would assume that Creighton is going to be a very popular
Heavy
underdog.
bet percentage. According to the Action Apps tracker, Creighton has 88% of the bet percentage, but only 3% of the money. And I don't really know how to really interpret that. That's crazy. Big money on Nova, sharps on Creighton, formula on Villanova. I'm just staying the heck away. My guess is that there's so many storylines. They got beat by 20 at Creighton. Like, Villanova's got this one circled on the calendar, man. Like, this is a big game. So I'm definitely going to watch it. I'm just going to sort of sit back and eat my popcorn. I would probably take the points just by a default. But Nova, when they play well, even if they don't have everybody from last year, actually, wait, Nova, I think, returned a lot of people too. I think they get this done.
Definitely. So I think that the thing you need to talk about here is the fact that the market hasn't moved from the previous game. So Creighton won by 20 in this first game, and the line is currently sitting 10.5, right? Villanova was minus, I believe. Yeah, Villanova was minus 6.5 on the road at Creighton earlier. In college basketball with these teams like this, Villanova, Big East, like that, we would expect their home court to be all the way up to around 4 points there. The market really hasn't changed much despite the 20-point win by the 6.5-point underdog in the other spot. And I think that you can also tell that obviously by the fact that almost 90% of the tickets are coming in on Creighton, but most of the money is on Villanova. So I think a lot of people are basically disregarding that. A lot of the sharp side is mostly ignoring that result. I basically am doing the same. I mean, obviously I just let the computer run and it spits it out, but it's dead on the market, which is basically what I like to see. When I see something like this, where the model is dead on the market and there's such an extreme case on the other side, if I were to play this game, I would play on the Villanova side at this point. I will stay right where the model is on market. I will totally fade the other action based off that ridiculous result we saw the first time, despite the market not reacting really to it, because it really hasn't, which is why you see 90% of the action on that, what feels like the obvious underdog here.
It does feel obvious. And when things feel obvious, I feel like usually I just want to run away. Like, sometimes I fall into the trap.
I don't have a play on it because my simulation number is basically dead on where the market is settled into at this point. But if I had to, if you asked me to make a play on it, I would take the other side. I would take Villanova.
I'm just no thanks. Just no thanks. Maybe play this game, see who's sitting out if there's COVID stuff. Maybe there's an advantage to have over the book, because right now you can literally, like yesterday, I believe at around noon or something, like the Kansas State news broke and you were able to go jump on Texas for about 10 minutes you had until the books took it down. And that's just so unlike most other sports. Like, you don't usually get such a cushion after news breaks, because in college basketball, the news is just not well distributed. Like, if you follow the right reporters or involved with the right, almost dropped my water, involved with the right people, you can get that news like before the books move the line. So you're able to get Texas minus 6.5. It didn't matter yesterday. Texas covered every number, but interesting if you want to pay attention in that 6 to 7 p.m. hour, or even 6:30 to 7, you can probably find some value on some numbers. You can make some money. Definitely a possibility, which is interesting. But all right. I have a couple 8 p.m. games, maybe do a few more, talk about Houston and wrap it up. What do you think about, I think this is a little bit of a later game. Oh yeah, this is later. Let's do Bradley, Missouri State is one that I have my eye on, because I don't think Bradley's that good. And I just,
wow, I'm dead on. I can't believe I'm dead. That's a game that normally I would like to see my model be at least 4 points off, just like, because I give zero attention to that. Just normal simulation run. I don't manually go review players. I don't manually review anything for that game because it's not important to me. I'll play the edge and trust it. But like, I'm like dead on market in that one, which is hilarious to me.
Well, and at a line like that, like at a 1 point line though, like you're betting on a winner. I had Missouri State -1. I don't really know, if it's moved. Let me look.
Yeah, that's sitting -1, 134. Like
Yeah.
I could not be closer to a game than that one on the simulation number today.
Yeah, I don't think Bradley's going to be able to do this one. Again, it's non-model for me, and I only have the one model play. I don't know if people are bopping in and out. I don't want to give anyone the wrong idea. But yeah, no, this is just kind of a game where I'm just like, you know what, Missouri State should be able to come in and beat Bradley. They've had some good wins. Bradley's had some iffy losses. So yeah, I'm there, and we won't spend too much time on that one. What about? All right, let's go with. This is an interesting one. Penn State is visiting Northwestern. And I think it's 7.5.
7.5.
You're right on the money again.
Yeah, I mean, you expect that with some of these, especially this late in the day. I don't even see where it is in my Sims. So
it's like in the middle bottom
okay.
third, middle-ish area.
Interesting.
I don't know, man. Yeah, this is an interesting one. I just think Penn State has what it takes to keep this close. Northwestern's been okay, but this is just another game where I think the teams just beat each other up and put up some points.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any interest in playing it personally.
Yeah, I know you don't. Well, you're just an extension of this computer model, buddy. So you're just the living appendage.
Very, very true. The computer can't speak, so I have to talk for it sometimes, but it is.
That's literally all we get most of the times. But all right, no, I'm just playing. But all right, let's talk about maybe some of the big games at the top that we didn't touch on yet. You said North Carolina, Notre Dame, something you're very interested in. We didn't really talk about Notre Dame much.
We haven't talked about it at all yet, but it is fascinating to me. Just looking at my sim number, I rarely see something like this where it's just a straight up dead heat. Like it is dead on the money. And one team obviously is getting 2.5 points now, which makes a little bit of sense. Like there aren't a ton of teams in college basketball. It's not like the Yankees where every single game there's inflation baked in, but there are some college basketball teams that have inflation baked in. Duke is one of them. And North Carolina is typically one of them as well. Especially in seasons that North Carolina is good or is like relevant.
It makes sense for the books, right? They want to make money they want to make sure that they like make money on the teams people put a lot of money onto. So they're going to shade them the other way. So yeah, generally it's like, so you like fading the Yankees, just a strategy because there's so many people who just automatically bet the Yankees. They do it. And so why wouldn't the book just add 5 cents on and say, you want to bet them? All right, it's a little more expensive. You got to win a higher clip. And they know the Yankees won't do that. So they make money on the Yankees and they love the Yankees. So yeah, same concept.
Yeah. In this game, I'm concerned about North Carolina here. I love the fact that we're getting 2.5 points with Notre Dame. It's a home game for them. I think this is a great spot for them, honestly. But I'm really concerned about North Carolina and some of the better games that they should have been playing in. They just got pretty embarrassed by Tennessee, really. Ended up being a 17-point loss as 2.5-point dogs. Absolutely embarrassed by Kentucky. They lost a game by like 29 points. Notre Dame played this Kentucky team very competitively. They actually beat them outright by 4 points. Just played a very competitive game with Pittsburgh, who we like already today. The results for this North Carolina team outside of the Michigan game, which I'm kind of conflicted on Michigan. I think that they're kind of sketchy in close games. And I like the fact that Notre Dame is at home. I think this is obviously a huge game that they really care about. And the computer has it as a dead pick'em. So plus 2.5, I think is a pretty good look here on Notre Dame.
I agree. I like that. I don't have a real lean personally. It's not one that I bet. It's not one that I think has much. Again, 2.5 is like right where I kind of consider things, and especially when there's like market movement involved. Again, I think this spread has grown a little bit. I'm a little more hesitant, right? Because it's like I do like fading
I'm showing
steam.
This one opening at 2.5 and
oh really?
Still sitting right where it is. Yeah,
sitting right where it is. Okay. I thought I saw. I could be wrong.
It's possible that it has. It might have opened there, moved and moved back.
my action app. Who even knows this app sometimes? Yeah, I see 2.5, 2. Yeah, it's been moving between 2.5 and 2. So all right, it's been pretty stable. So I gotta eat my words. It's not a market moved one, but yeah. So maybe it is the right call. I do definitely think that Notre Dame also is at home here, right? So you're getting +2 points on the home team. It's probably the right call on by default. Home teams have been doing very well. All right. We talked Alabama, Florida. We talked Louisville, Pittsburgh. We did not talk Michigan State, Nebraska. We did have a question about the under in that game. Any thoughts here? You have 144 on it, which is exactly on the number. So
Is
Ryan,
it really? We've already got the movement. Beautiful. So this was the sports line under that I gave at 149 with the under on sports line. Are you sure that that's where the market is on it?
I mean, unless action's wrong. Am I looking at the wrong game? I'm on the wrong game.
148 currently on DraftKings, but I'm going to refresh.
I didn't leave from the UNC game, Mike. That's on me.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it's moved a point in our favor since giving it out, but I was going to be stunned if it moved all the way to
that would be incredible. So again, my apologies. But yeah, Mike, this is a decent number for Mike here, clearly, and so he would take it. Ryan, my apologies for saying that before, but yeah, no, I think I agree with you here. In terms of how this team's going to slow it down, it looks to be the sharp side, looks to have some money on it too. Both teams actually have been pretty good on the over, but that's exactly when an under is just going to come and slap you in the face. Yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a kind of a theme here. Conference games, I expect them to be a little bit more competitive, a little bit more control. But the thing here is it's really about Nebraska's pace. They've played with one of the quickest paces in the country. Hasn't really worked out for them a lot. I don't expect them to go in and try to play with the massively fast pace on the road environment in East Lansing. So that, and then just another one where the lead at the end, if Nebraska is even having some success, we could expect this one maybe to get up to like 7 or 8 points, would still be a kill clock, really slow control final few minutes of the game on the Michigan State side. So for me, having them at home, I think the home team is going to have a much better chance of dictating the pace of play here. And I don't think Nebraska is going to actually want to push the tempo as much as you would think in this game. They played a little slower pace in the game against Kansas State that they played. I'm expecting a pretty similar controlled type of game against Michigan State today. So I do like the under at 149, make it 144.
I like it. We got a really quick question in the chat about Davidson. We did not talk about it. We are not talking about everything today. I do happen to like Davidson personally. I do worry about them being so strong at 9-1, 10-1, and covering this. It's just kind of like a little bit of a trap game. St. Joe's at home. I'm not betting it, but I do understand why you take it. Sometimes you do just ride momentum. I know that was on the early edge today as the sports line play. So, yeah, but I'm right there. I don't know, Mike. I haven't even found it in your model yet. I think the line's around 4, so we can see if it's there around 4. Yes, yeah, it's 3.5. So you don't
3.5. Yeah, I mean, which I think my model is correct, obviously on it. I think that you're paying a premium if you want to bet Davidson at this point, just because they've been an absolute covering machine. They're definitely at a high point in the market. You could certainly argue that they were just way undervalued in the market, and now they're maybe closer to where they should be. I'll argue that they're probably 1 to 2 points overvalued in the market currently. We'll see. Obviously, I can be very wrong, and they can continue to cover. St. Joe's is on a little cover streak of their own. They've covered 4 of their last games, and I believe 7 of their last 8. They didn't cover against Villanova, bad loss there, but pretty convincing win over Temple. I think that's the one that really stands out to me. Temple, they beat them by 19 points as 1.5 point underdogs. That one is very, very interesting. But the win over Richmond is a big underdog. They're plus 11.5. They won the game 83-56. This team is playing pretty good basketball as well. So I'm off of the game. I'm not playing the other side with St. Joe's, but I do think that you're buying at the top of Davidson.
Yes, you are.
So just understand that.
All right. I agree. I'm with you. I think that's a good answer. But all right, let's finish up with a few of the last games that we have at the top of this list. I would say probably the one that I've been waiting to talk to you about is this Houston South Florida game.
Yeah.
I mean, your model loves it. I mean, this was at 15. I was saying 18.5 this morning on the show, according to my model. So that means that there's a lot of agreement. And I didn't even have your numbers last night. And this one's still sitting at 15. It hasn't
14 and a
budged.
half in some spots.
Hasn't budged. I mean, that's minor budge. That's minor budge, and we're just, I don't know. Does that concern you that it's going the other way?
Not really. Look, the South Florida team, I don't trust them at all.
I don't either.
I mean, yeah, they played a close game and covered against Florida, but I'm on Alabama tonight. I think Florida's kind of suspect too. They played the little Hawaii Christmas deal. They ended up beating Hawaii outright, and then went on to lose by 20 to Wyoming. This team lost to Wyoming by 20. Not good. So I like Houston. I think they're obviously a very, very strong team. The other thing you need to consider when you look at Houston is just another team that has a ridiculous strength of schedule. They play good games. They played Virginia, Butler, Wisconsin, Oregon, Alabama. Like Oklahoma State is still not a bad team as well. It's a quality win that they have and cover in that game. So I like Houston here. I know that they're dealing with some issues with one of their better players, but in this particular matchup, I think it's fine. Getting it at 14.5, my model would certainly recommend it. I've seen some models all the way up to like 21, 22 on this game. I'm not that quite extreme, but I do have it over 19.
Yeah, I saw a couple at 20. I think like Shot Quality and Haslametrics both were at 20 today. So pretty good signs. I really like this one. I think that, USF just, again, you can't trust them. I know Houston's missing some players. I know they have some problems right now, but that's not going to matter. They spank this team up every year in the American Athletic Conference, the AAC. This just isn't going to be one of these games where, I mean, South Florida is going to want to come and compete, but they know they get smacked up by Houston. They're going to do the best they can, but they just, this is also about coaching. This is also about familiarity. This is also about Houston needing, actually, when you get like ranked teams going into these games against bad teams, I've started to feel a little bit better about bigger spreads in situations like this. I actually usually draw my line right around 15, 17 points as spreads I don't even touch. You'll never see me take an official bet on a 20-point line. You just won't. I can't. There's too much variance. But what you got to figure out with this is that Houston wants to win this game big because this is a game that's going to be looked at by the committee. They can't win this by 5. It's not going to look good, so this one's definitely going to finish around 10 points. I don't like college basketball teasers much, but 11-10 here on an alt line and a really nice donkey parlay. I don't think they keep this within 10 points, but 15 they should get. 20 they could easily get because of just how they play, how good the defense is, how fast the offense is. This is my favorite play of the day. So 14.5, I might go. I haven't chucked it up on Sportsline yet. I probably will go get that little hook. Not gonna be mad about it. But yeah, a couple questions. Definitely shout out to Aaron here. But thoughts on Sean's here. What's up, Sean? Been following the show since we started. What's up, man? Ole Miss, Tennessee COVID situation.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Any
we Tennessee had some issues too against the Alabama game, but I'm not overly worried about it. That was a game I wanted to stay far away from. Numbers down to 15.3. I think the spread in the market is up to 17. If you want to take, the points with Ole Miss, I think that's fine. It's not going to shock me at all. Tennessee's one of those teams. They're obviously a good team, but they're definitely a team that can have a slow night and just scratch out a win in this game. But overall, if you see the list of my simulations, it is near the bottom. It is the second to last game, only in front of St. Bonaventure and Fordham, which means it's a game that I have basically zero interest in talking about, thinking about, betting, etc.
Yeah. All right. So we'll finish up. We'll do our last game. Rick asked about the game. It's on the top of your list here. We'll bring up the Sims one final time for everybody. If you aren't, already in the Discord, where you just need to subscribe to Twitch. It's essentially free if you use your Amazon Prime sub, which comes
Yep.
with, if you link your account, it's a lot of linking of accounts, but it's actually pretty easy to figure out. And you get every single simulation that Mike ever puts up. It's pretty sweet. That's literally how I got started in betting.
It is.
Fun story for all of you, but you can learn a lot in that Discord. Last game of the day, Iowa State, Texas Tech. I mean, Iowa State, man, has been on a tear, and you got Texas Tech winning.
Yeah, it's a very interesting spot. So Iowa State has definitely been on a tear. There's no doubt about it. I want to check one more thing before I finish talking to make sure I don't have any sort of errors. Yeah, no, I am on Texas Tech in this game. I am on it.
It's
And
plus
I do
4.
not
This is
feel
an
great.
8-point edge, Mike.
I know, and I
That's
don't
crazy.
feel great about the market on it though. I'm going to be
A lot of
completely honest
steam.
with you. A lot of steam on Iowa State. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, Texas Tech dealing with a little bit, I wouldn't say a little bit. They're without one of their top scorers for sure. But Iowa State is one of those teams that's just, in my opinion, is become a little bit overvalued. They are obviously on a great run, covered against Baylor, which is certainly not easy to do. We all know the huge upset over the 20-point win. They beat Creighton. They beat Memphis as underdogs. I don't give Memphis a ton of credit, but they have a ton of wins. They've been a covering machine. The way that I would think about Iowa State is almost identical to that Davidson team. You are paying an absolute premium to bet on Iowa State at this point. If you're comfortable doing that, I think that is fine. I think the value is very clearly going to be on the other side at this point. So both of these teams beat Tennessee for what it's worth. Texas Tech didn't get absolutely embarrassed by Gonzaga. It ended up being a 14-point game at the end, but that's one of those like where a team like Texas Tech that is certainly middling, you would expect them if they were a really bad team to lose that Gonzaga game by 20, as strong as Gonzaga is. I like that they were able to be competitive in it. So I think that the value here at this point, when you're getting 4.5 points with Texas Tech, I think it's the way to look. I know it's not comfortable. It's certainly not comfortable seeing the market steam from -1 to -3.5 today. But it's for me, it'd be a stay away or a play on Texas Tech and basically paying the absolute premium on Iowa State.
Huge premium. And so let's talk, but before we get out of here, let's just I'll give my take on why this game is where it is. I didn't actually look at it too much in my models last night because this is a hard one to figure out, right? This is at the Hilton Coliseum, and that is one of the toughest environments in all of college basketball to play in. Texas Tech is going to be without one of its leading scorers, leading guards. So that's going to make it tough. I mean, Iowa State against the reason that this line is where it is because of the way that defense looked against Baylor, right? They didn't win, but they held up. And it was impressive, to say the least. They're going to attack ball handlers. They're going to force turnovers. They're going to make this tough. They're a top 10 defense in the nation. And Texas Tech is only on the road for the second time. I'm off this because I understand why there's value on Tech, but I also get why there's value on Iowa State. My guess is that, this is going to finish around 4 points either way because it's probably going to be tight. It's probably going to be foul shots. And that's probably what you're going to be hoping for on Iowa State. I don't think they're just going to cruise to a 10-point victory here.
The thing I want to point out too is, yes, they are missing one of their better players. He hasn't played in several of the most recent games. He did not play in the Gonzaga game where they didn't just get absolutely embarrassed and destroyed. So, I definitely lean Texas Tech in this game at this point.
He's probably worth. He's probably worth like 3 points is my guess. Is that player being out is probably worth maybe 2 to 3 points max. I think they said that they're 0.04 points per possession worse without him so far. Again, I don't know exactly what the average number of possessions are going to be with this team, but assuming they get, 80, 60 possessions or something, he's probably worth 2.5 to 3 points. So it's, I don't think it's that crazy. It's going to be a really interesting one to watch. These top games on the list are probably the ones that we're all going to like be tuning into to understand how the most bet on teams and the most loved teams, where all the money flows for college basketball, how they're going to do, right? Because it gives us good points to like fade the market, understand these teams. Like this is just, and then also there's a lot of tournament teams, and this is what we're all going to be betting in 3 months when March gets here. But yeah, I think another great market movers. We're definitely going to be here for the new year. We will be here Friday at the same time. If you joined late, if you're mad that you missed the start, Friday at noon, we will be here doing it again.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you Friday.